and pain-free the Bonnie Pruden way. I'm Enid Whitaker, and I'm joined by Sandy Dirks. Our program each month will center around fitness pioneer Bonnie Pruden and her accomplishments, her method of exercise, and pain erasure the Bonnie Pruden way, or Bonnie Pruden myotherapy, which is a way to get rid of muscle-related pain. Join us as we begin each meeting with a few tension-relieving exercises.
Today we're talking about water-wise babies. Enid?
Your baby has been in water, warm water, for 9 months and very comfortable there. So the baby is born with 3 reflexes that begin to wane after 3 months. So your baby is born knowing how to swim. It has 3 reflexes. The grip reflex. If you put your finger in the baby's hand, it always grips it. And if you were to hold that little finger and lift it, the baby would hold on. And so it is able to hold on to the side of the pool, or if you put something in its fingers, like a little stick when it's in the pool, you can pull it around. The other 2 things that happen is that it has what's called a diving reflex, so that when you place a baby in warm water, face down underneath the water, it will not only hold its breath, but it will make frog-like swimming motions and propel itself. So those 3 things, if you start early, like even at 7 days or 2 weeks, with the baby, even in the bathtub, or if you have a pool that's warm, start your baby right away so that it doesn't lose those reflexes. You use what's there to develop a nice little swimming body.
And I remember you teaching baby swim.
Yeah. I started teaching Bonnie's program in 1972 in New Hampshire, which is where I lived. And I started with women's programs because that was the easiest for me. But then I knew I had to add on. So then I started with children's programs. And then I finally knew I had to teach baby swim. And when I looked around to see what else was out there, I found only 2 programs at the time. And one was more so strict that they didn't really get to develop what they wanted to. Everybody had to do the same thing at the same time. It didn't seem to be very profitable or whatever. And the other one was so social that it didn't have any discipline. So one had no discipline and the other one had too much discipline. And I said, gee, I can do better than that. And at the time, Bonnie had written her book, Your Baby Can Swim, but it wasn't published and it didn't have the pictures. And so I asked her if I could come down and read the book, and she told me, well, it doesn't have any pictures. And I said, that's all right. I went down and I read the book. And because of the way it was written, I could picture what the pictures would be like. And so I went back and I started my classes, and they were full all the time. I had a birth to walking program, a walking to 3, and then a 3 to 5-year-old program. And the babies are easiest to teach because they haven't had the experience. By toddler age, they already know how to say no. And it's much harder to teach.
Yes, they do.
And the thing is that you can't protect protect the child. You can only prepare it. You can't, gates and walls and all of those things are not going to keep the baby from the pool if it really wants to get there. And you can't block off the bathtub or the toilet or the pail with the water in it. And it only takes 20 to 60 seconds for somebody to drown. And that is because of the fact that in order to speak, you have to take a breath. So if you're under the water and come up, then you have to take a breath before you can speak. And there's no time to take the breath and then speak before you go under the water again. Something called instinctual drowning response is what people do to avoid actual or perceived suffocation from water. And that is that they put their arms out to the side and push them down in the water in order to come up. And that's instinctual. What you see in the movies with people waving their arms and yelling is not how people drown. Babies drown in silence. People drown in silence. And it doesn't take that long, 20 to 60 seconds. No time for you to go in and get a beer and go out to the pool again. No time for you to leave the bathroom and answer the phone. You have to be there all the time, but the best thing is to prepare the baby, the child, so that the baby is water-wise and comfortable in the water. The other thing I used to tell my mothers is, well, the babies were always nude when they went in. When it got to be toddler age, I would tell the mothers, put the bathing suit up on a top shelf where the baby cannot get it, the toddler can't get it, but that it knows that it has to ask you for the bathing suit before it can go in the water. And that way, if it asks for it, at least you'll know where it's headed and can prepare for that. There's all kinds of things that you can do in the water that are fun for the baby and the young child. But again, prepare.
So you first learned about it from Bonnie when she was writing the book. How did she start Baby Swim?
Well, she happened to be at the Detroit Y, because the Y people always got hold of her because she was good at raising money. She would go out and do a lecture demonstration. Everybody would come and pay. And that's how a lot of their wives across the country raised money for their programs. So Chuck Swineford, who became a very, very good friend, was showing her around his Y very proudly. And they went through the pool area and there was nobody in the pool. And she said, there's nobody in the pool. And he said, well, the men come in really early in the morning before work and the kids come in later after school. And she said, but you're losing money. Bingo.
Yep.
He said, well, what shall we do? And she said, get a mother, a baby, a teacher, and the Detroit News. And so they did. They got a baby, a mother, a teacher, and the Detroit News. And the newspaper took pictures of the babies and so forth in the water, put it in the newspaper. And that's how Baby Swim started in this country. They had Baby Swim programs ever after that. And the Ys became Family Ys. Bonnie was the one who started Family Ys in this country. So because she always felt that families should exercise together. So if you're taking a little one into the pool, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're an aunt, an uncle, a grandfather, a grandmother, a father. I had lots of fathers come and they were great with the babies. They didn't hear whiny, whiny, whiny. They just heard noise. Whereas the mothers heard, oh, you poor thing, I'm ducking you under the water. And so it was interesting to watch the fathers and grandfathers and uncles be with the babies in the water. And when Bonnie started this, nothing happened to begin with, but then there started to be complaints written by mostly men doctors who were, older and who didn't have any babies in their lives. And so all the complaints were like, oh, they'll urinate in the pool, or they'll poop in the pool, or they'll carry viruses, or they'll get viruses, or the mothers will be overconfident, or they might get ear infections. Well, none of those hold true, really. If you consider the size of a baby's bladder, it's nothing compared to those high school basketball players that come in after school. In the whole many years that I taught baby swim, I only saw one poop in the pool. And the lifeguards were there in a minute with their net, and out it went, and we continued. The other thing is that there were people who started baby swim before Bonnie, but it was always an instructor with a baby. And Bonnie felt that the mother was the best instructor. So all of her programs were mothers teaching babies, and then instructors telling the mothers what to do. And what I noticed, especially with the toddlers, was that often the toddlers were really belligerent to begin with, and in the no stage. But they like to be in the water, but in order to be in the water, they had to depend on whoever was in there with them. And a bond developed that would not have developed otherwise, because of the dependency of the mother or whoever was with the baby or toddler and the toddler. It was a great thing to see. Those were great teaching days for me. Don't forget, most drownings are 2 to 4 year olds, and they take place in the tub, the bucket, and the toilet, not in the pool or out in the ocean. In those 3 places, that is where most of the drownings happen for 2 to 4 year olds. That's where the drownings are. So prepare.
Absolutely. As well as preparing the child, there's, again, I'm looking at some of your blogs, which are on the bonniepruden.com website. And you talk about priceless gifts for water babies. And so some of the things are a heightened sensitivity is developed, nonverbal communication is developed, building trust and cooperation as new skills are introduced. Your baby has something to teach you. Love is the most sendable message there is. So while babies may not understand your words, they can hear the intent.
Right. And Your Baby Can Swim is really about nonverbal communication, as is, I have to say, Extra-Sex, which is another one of Bonnie's books. It's about nonverbal communication and how we've lost that, and how important it is in our communication with others.
Yes. And so we're going to be showing you some of the pictures from Bonnie's books, as well as some clips from her video, Your Baby Can Swim.
Before they are born, babies live for 9 months in a tiny seed. As far as babies are concerned, water is water. Much love, much hugging, much snuggling, and constant praise. The mother's job is to love and praise and smile. Bouncing and snuggling is the order of the day. If a baby takes on a snootful, just raise one arm and it'll stop the choking. Remember to smile. In any case, it just takes time. Babies read their fathers too, and they know they're not getting anywhere, so they stop. Short passes are made at first, and always toward a face that the baby will recognize and love. least in the beginning. Soon the baby can be dropped off at the bottom and will swim to the top by herself. For step-by-step instructions, use my book, Your Baby Can Swim. This is Bonnie Pruden. Keep fit, be happy.
Enid, what is the exercise of the month?
Pelvic tilts, and you can do them in a standing position or a sitting position while you're waiting for the light to change. You can do them kneeling, and of course, when you're lying on your back or lying prone on your tummy. And they help develop back flexibility as well as abdominal strength. And those are the areas that are needed to help prevent low back pain. And also those are some of the loving muscles that you need.
Okay, so are you going to be showing us pelvic tilt standing?
I am.
And one thing to note when you're doing pelvic tilts, especially standing, is it helps if your knees are slightly bent, not straight.
Knees bent.